Happy Hanukkah, everybody, and welcome to section 5.7, Geometry Students, Inequalities in Two Triangles. So very convenient that the Star of David has two triangles, but we're going to talk about the Hinge Theorem. So the Hinge Theorem is essentially builds off our understanding of side-angle-side inequalities. Well, side-angle-side equalities, I should say. And this is the side-angle-side inequality. So that's the only difference. It's this inequality for this guy instead of congruence. So what does that mean? You're like, what? I just got done learning about side-angle-side congruence, and now you want to throw inequality into the mix? Well, it's similar in the sense that look at these two triangles. Basically, everything is the same about them, okay? So look at this triangle and look at this triangle. Well, you probably weren't sure which triangle I was referring to. So those two triangles, the red one and the blue one. So we have here that this side is congruent to this side, all right? Then we have this side congruent to this side. Now, your temptation is to say that this angle needs to be congruent to that angle. Well, if that angle, those two angles were congruent, then they would be congruent triangles and there would be no reason for inequality. But now we're saying that those two angles are not congruent. So they are not equal. They are unequal. That's inequality. See where that comes from? So they're not equal. So what does that mean in relation to these two triangles? So here we go. Measure of angle A, so this red one, is greater than measure of angle X. If that is the case, okay, and you can see it's clearly bigger. If that is the case, then BC, let me change colors here, get it matching up. Then BC is going to be bigger than YZ. Okay, again, last section, I suggest you watch it if you haven't already, 5.6. Last section, we talked about how an angle controls its opposite side. So the bigger the angle, the bigger the side. The smaller the angle, the smaller the side. So this just expands off of that. So if we have two triangles and they're equal, except that triangle that connects those two congruent sides, then their opposite sides are also going to be equal, where the bigger angle, the triangle with the bigger angle, is going to have the bigger opposite side. So BC is bigger than YZ. Here's an example. Look at the first present. We're going to open it up. Here we have two triangles. What do you notice about them? Well, we have this congruent to this side. What other congruent sides do we have, or congruent information? We have this side congruent to this side. And there's an angle in between. One is 90, one is 70. So what do we know about the opposite sides? What do we know about SK compared to YU? Well, because this is 90, okay, so angle A is bigger than, let's call this angle O. Then we know the side opposite. I'm going to make this red. Okay, so this side right here. So SK is going to be bigger than, make this blue side right here, angle YU. Okay, so even though it's congruent in a lot of ways, these two sides, and then a conjoined angle, it has the bigger angle, so it's going to have the bigger side. That's all this section is about. Okay, so now we have another one. We have converse of the Hinge theorem, also known as Sss Inequality. Okay, so side-angle-side inequality meant we had an unequal angle. This time we're going to have an unequal side. Okay. So now we have if BC is greater than YZ. So we have these two triangles here. They're almost the same in every way. So we have BA congruent to XY. Then we have AC congruent to XZ. But the only thing that's different, we have these two sides. This side right here is bigger than the blue side over here. So what does that mean? Well, we're going to say the exact opposite. Angle X is going to be less than angle A. And I think that's pretty obvious at this point. The bigger the side, the bigger the angle. The smaller the side, the smaller the angle. So therefore, this is going to have the bigger angle. And this one's going to have the smaller angle. Okay, all other things equal, that's what the case is. I don't want to repeat it anymore. All right, example 2. What is the range of possible values for X? Okay, this one's a little bit different. Now we're talking about a range of possible values. Okay, so we have to consider two different things. So step 1, we need to establish our inequality. Okay, so What do we mean by that? Well, here's our angle in question. What is the range of possible values for x? Here's our angle in question. Okay, so we have this going on. Let me color this in. Color. With this purple angle, okay? So this purple angle controls this purple side. I think you guys are aware of that. Now, what other information do we have about this little situation? We know these two sides are congruent, and we know that these sides, this side is congruent of this triangle because of the reflexive property. Both these triangles share VS or US, I'm not sure. I think it's US, so that's going to be congruent for both triangles. Now, what do I mean by both triangles? If you don't see it by now, I'm going to go ahead and show you. It's that green triangle and that blue triangle that we're talking about. There's our two triangles in question. Okay? Now, this purple angle is going to be compared against this pink angle right here, this 60-degree angle. Now, just looking at this picture, which is the bigger angle, the purple or the pink? Well, the pink is controlling this side, and it's 15. The purple is controlling this side, and it's 10. So what's the bigger angle? If you guessed the pink angle, then you're correct. So we know that angle 60, okay, we know 60, I'm just going to say 60, not angle 60. 60 needs to be bigger than, what is that? 5x minus 20. Okay, so that's one part of the inequality. Now, there's something else we know. We know that this is a side length. So this is kind of maybe intuitive to you, but it's got to be bigger than 0. Okay, so not only does it have to be less than 60, but it also has to be bigger than 0. We can't have a negative angle here, okay? Now, this is for acute angles. Okay, for obtuse angles, you have to have an angle that is less than 180 and also bigger than 0, okay? So you have to keep this in mind, that your angle has to be less than 180, but it also has to be bigger than 0. Since this was already less than 60, we were good on this end because it's an acute angle. But if you have a big angle that's obtuse, it has to be less than 180. This is just something to keep in mind. Let me highlight it because it's important. Okay, highlight means important, in case you didn't know. So we established our inequality, so what's the next step? The next step is split. Okay, so we're going to split the inequality, and then we are going to solve. So we split, and then we solve. Okay, so what does that mean when we split? Well, we split it by going like this. Okay, let's go over here. We're going to split it into 60 is greater than 5x minus 20. But then we're also going to have, let me move this over actually. Okay, we're also going to have 5x minus 20 is bigger than 0. Okay, so see how we have split, and now we're going to solve. Split and solve. Okay, so we split and solve. You just treat it like a normal equal sign. So for this one, we're just adding 20 to both sides, trying to isolate the x. And then we have, let's see, 20, I think that's 16. X is less than 16. Okay, and then we do this one over here. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, that's when you have to flip the sign. So just keep that in mind, okay? That if we put a little red alert here, this is our red alert, multiply, whoops, we'll do multiply or divide, we flip sign. Okay, that's just an algebraic reminder for you. Okay, I don't like that. Let me do a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so continuing where we left off, we split it, okay, into two inequalities, this one and this one right here, okay, and now we're solving for x, and we get x needs to be greater than 4. So what is the range of values of possible values of x? X has to be bigger than 4, but it also has to be less than 16, okay? So you can combine the two and write it like this, and you're done. Very important that you make sure all your angles are between 0 and 180 if they're obtuse or acute. But this is how you do it. Hopefully you found all of this helpful. That's all we have for Chapter 5. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.